What's going on, guys? Thanks for stopping by the Hands On channel. I'm just over here taking a break. I've been out here running around on my Cub Cadet. You can see it there behind my giant head. Anyways, I've been running around on the Cub Cadet and doing some basic cleanup here at the property, just trying to make it better so that when we're out here doing projects, we won't be getting eaten up by chiggers and ticks and stuff like that, and it'll just be nicer to walk around. But the point of this video is I want to talk to you guys about just biblical stuff and spirituality in general, and what you guys are thinking about some of this different stuff that we're seeing in the news every day. And so we'll get right into this. And first of all, I want to say, you know, I'm not a theologian, I'm not a biblical scholar, I'm none of those things. I'm just a guy that reads the Bible and interprets it my own way. I probably have some of the interpretations incorrect, but I'm willing to take that chance and look at them myself and try to determine what the best, you know, what God is trying to say to me through this book, the Holy Book, the best book we've ever had, the Holy Bible. So, you know, I'm sure some of the atheists have already tuned out, and that's fine. We'll see you guys later. Nothing, no hard feelings or whatever, but I am a Christian, and I also believe in liberty for you and me and everybody else to, you know, to practice their Christianity. And I'm seeing some signs that we're on shaky ground here in the United States. And I just wanted to talk to you guys and get the conversation started about, are we living in a beast system? Is this system being controlled by Satan or the devil or Lucifer or whatever word you prefer to call him? And I'm not talking about some guy with a bifurcated tail and a pitchfork that's made, you know, that's a red guy. No, I'm talking about people that probably look just like you and me, maybe even better. They claim Satan is a beautiful creature. You know, he's supposed to be a creature of light. I guess it was Lucifer was what meant like a creature of light or something like that. So this is supposed to be a, you know, handsome or a beautiful creature. And so could it be that somewhere along the chain, you know, somewhere in the food chain of the NWO, more than likely, there is somebody giving directives straight from, you know, Satan's throne? I don't know. Some of the stuff that I'm seeing, I can only explain it by looking at good versus evil. So that's what brings me to this conclusion, is that I feel like for the first time, at least in my lifetime, I'm seeing things that are lining up with the book of Revelations. I mean, whether that be massive starvation, and especially parts of the third world country. I mean, a lot of these places were hit really hard by the lockdowns and stuff, and there's a lot of places around the world that, I mean, people are starving. Even right here in the United States, there's a lot of people that are in much worse shape than they were before the lockdown. So regardless of how many stimulus checks that Biden sends out or Trump sent out or anybody sends out, it doesn't matter. They don't have a reliable source of income anymore because their business closed or whatever. So this has definitely disrupted the apple cart all around the world, and it's been a big chain reaction. We've watched this thing happen. This is a world-changing event, no doubt. And I may be one of the few people that will come right out and say it, but we are at war. China declared war on us when they, in my opinion, intentionally released this whole biological attack on the world. And you might say, why would they do that? You know, I mean, that would hurt their own people as well. And common sense would tell you to think that way, but you got to remember, these guys are communists. They're bloodthirsty communists that want to control the world. So they have 1.4, 1.5 billion people, and a lot of those people, in their eyes, are useless eaters. Their mouths to feed for the Chinese, their obligations. They're not making them money. They're not doing anything for the country. So yeah, sure, you know, especially if you've got something on the back burner there in the Wuhan lab that could specifically target a certain age group of people. So if you'll notice that the majority of mortalities has been pretty elderly people that already had pre-existing conditions in most cases. So I mean, could they be intentionally targeting those people? Could this have been some sort of a designer biological attack that specifically targeted certain age groups of people because they are a drain on society, at least from the perspective of the Chinese? So I don't know. I believe it could be. I believe all of that could be true. And I believe we're at war. And the American people are the only ones that just don't realize we are at war. The Chinese are doing all kinds of stuff around the world, not only to our allies, but to other countries where they're building these roads all over the place, the Belts and Roads Initiative. So go check all of this stuff out. I mean, they are hell-bent on world domination, no doubt about it. And I think right now they're using the New World Order, the UN, all of these other groups. They're using these world order groups to seize control. They may be pretending to be friends of the NWO because it's convenient for them at that moment. But later on, they'll say, oh yeah, by the way, we rule the world, not you. And so I think that's what's going on. We're seeing a world takeover. I believe it's being, at very least, influenced by evil forces. Are those evil forces connected to Satan? I don't know. It depends on what you believe in. I believe they are. And so I believe we're in the beast system. Several signs point to that. Never in my lifetime has something like this mRNA-V been tried and been talked about in such a way that, I mean, we're intentionally being divided into the people that have had the V and the people that haven't had the V. And, Biden, like last week, said that people that didn't have the V were a lot dumber than he thought they were. I mean, basically, they're starting out soft with insults and stuff like that. They're hurling insults at first. But every sign is pointing to me that they're going to attempt to force people to take this thing. I mean, they're openly talking about it. Some of their people, not Biden directly, but some of their underlings are openly talking about it. Kind of like, just throwing it out there to see how the media handles it. And of course the media is lapping it up and they're saying, yeah, we should do that. We should do that. We should mandate this because it's not right. We have a pandemic of the unV'd, they're saying. And what's interesting about this is every single thing they have said has almost exclusively turned out to be 180 degrees backwards from what the real truth is, or upside down from what the real truth is. I mean, what I'm reading is saying that the people that have had the V are the ones that are actually spreading the Delta variant around. So, and I better be careful there. If I get too free with my words on this stuff, they'll definitely ban me because they'll say it's misinformation for me having an opinion different than Fauci. In fact, on the way over here, I was listening to a little bit of news, and there are actually people that are openly talking about making it a hate crime to criticize Dr. Anthony Fauci. I mean, if that doesn't tell you right there that we have been taken over by authoritarians, then I don't know how to shake you awake. I mean, you're not going to wake up by anything that I can say if you don't understand that. When I was a kid, I used to sit around watching things that were going on in USSR and stuff, and I always wondered, how did it get this way? How did these people allow this to happen? Well, this is how. They lulled them to sleep, they divided everybody, and they conquered everybody. And the next thing you know, you woke up one day and you were a freaking slave to the USSR, and if you spoke out against the government, well, they were coming to get you. And that could mean different levels of things. That could mean, totally get you, or like several supposed, people that criticized Putin. I mean, one of those guys got basically a high dose of radiation and he ended up dying in the hospital bed. I remember that. And it was quite suspicious, but nothing ever happened, of course, because he's the most powerful person in Russia. He can get away with anything he wants because they don't have a U.S. Constitution like we do that's built on individual liberty and self-governance. So it's very important, guys. I talk about that. I beat that drum all the time because I think that's the most important thing that people forget. We're supposed to be a nation of individual people that self-govern. Now, many of our people have lost the ability to self-govern, either through drugs or alcohol or just being dumber than a bag of hammers. You could put some blame on the parents for sure. You could also put a lot of blame on the corrupt, liberal, over-the-top Marxist education system that they make all of our kids go to, that we all have to pay for against our will. So there's lots of different things going on that you could look at. But I wanted to ask you this specifically. And again, I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I just want your opinion. Is it possible that this mRNA-V is the mark of the beast? And let me preface that with this. I've seen and watched several videos on YouTube by a guy named Timothy Alberino, and I highly recommend you go check him out, especially if you're into Christianity and just history and stuff like that. Well, he talks about how in Genesis 6, you've probably heard the story, but in Genesis 6, that's right before Noah's flood. And he was talking about what it was that basically made God so angry that he flooded the earth, was that the genetics had been muddied up. They were impure. It was an abomination. The Nephilim, or the fallen angels, had been sent down to the earth as punishment. They were kicked out of heaven, right? And when they got here, they saw, God's creation, mankind, and more specifically, they saw beautiful women, and they were like, oh, hey, I'm going to go hook up with that beautiful girl over there and make a little, half-breed baby that's going to be an abomination. And supposedly, according to the Bible, if you believe the Bible is fact, at least this part in Genesis, then the genetics were impure because, they had giants and they had all kinds of stuff, supposedly, minotaurs and anything that you've heard of, biblically anyways, from a lot of the mythology, these, half lion, half man, these types of things. Depending on what these Nephilim bred with was determinant of what the offspring would be. And apparently when they bred with human women, it became a giant, and anywhere from 18 to 25 feet tall or something like that. We're talking about really giants. The kind of things that could have easily built the pyramids. So there are some things that, kind of give that credibility. And also there's a lot of history about that, where the Smithsonian back in like the late 1800s, early 1900s, anytime somebody would call the newspaper and say, hey, I found giant bones in this big mound out in my backyard, supposedly the Smithsonian would come in and buy up all the bones or seize all the bones or whatever and take them back to their Indiana Jones warehouse that they have somewhere, one of these government warehouses. I don't know if that part's true or not, but I have seen stories from the past where they were actually shipping giant skeleton remains around the country on display. And even Abraham Lincoln talks about this, them finding giant skeletons. More into the modern times, supposedly they found a giant over in Afghanistan. I believe it was Afghanistan. Real quick, the story was that, there was a squad of guys. They were sent out to check out this cave because people had been taking things up there, offerings up there, and they thought, oh man, bin Laden's in there, or somebody, a high value target, that these people are afraid of. So the story goes that these 5 to 7 guys go in there with M16s, and they're, all decked out in Army Ranger gear or whatever it was. I don't know if they were Marines or Army or who they were, but they went in there, and suddenly like a 18-foot tall giant or a 15-foot tall giant comes running out, had red hair, 6 fingers, 6 toes on each hand and on each foot, so very interesting. And I don't know, could all that be made up? Sure it could, but could it also give them the opportunity to mess around with genetics? That's the long and short of what I'm getting at here. According to the Genesis 6 story, when you start messing around with genetics to a certain point, it angers God, and then something terrible happens. Like in that case, he flooded the entire world, 40 days, 40 nights of rain, and only certain species survived, although it says in there that there were giants before and after the flood. So apparently it didn't kill 100% of these creatures, these giants. So very interesting stuff. I don't know. Could this mRNA-V be associated? Maybe it's a precursor to the mark of the beast. Maybe it's not actually the mark. Maybe the second thing is the mark, when you have to go in there and get some sort of a genetic marker put in that would, when you could be scanned or whatever. Maybe it's RFID under the skin. That's like your V passport in the future, to where you don't have to have your phone anymore. You can just walk up and just scan your hand, your right hand or your forehead over the scanner, and they'll say, okay, yes, this person can come in. Because obviously we're being divided more and more and more, and it's never enough, What will the next division be? We've been divided by classes, by race, by sex, by now it's V'd or no V. I mean, at what point do you draw the line and just say, hey, man, we're all Americans. We're all, I mean, the majority of us anyways, believe in Christian morals, and we want to see that go forward. But again, I'm not seeing very many people stand up for those rights and morals anymore. And when you do, oftentimes they're charlatans, and they're trying to basically get some little old lady's last $10 out of her hands, and it's just all in the name of Christ. And that, of course, right there drives a lot of people away from the good thing, the church, the real Christian religion, real Christianity. So anyways, guys, I just wanted to get your mind turning here, and I've got to get back out here and get back to mowing, unfortunately. But I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on this. I mean, are we in a beast system? And is this mRNAV a mark of the beast, or maybe a precursor to the mark of the beast? Let me know down in the comments. I love reading your comments, and I appreciate every time I get to read one. Even if you disagree with me, that's totally cool. We can have a little civilized debate, and maybe each of us will be better for it at the end of the day. So until then, I stand for liberty. I hope you do too, but I also stand for Christianity. God bless you. God bless the United States for as long as it lasts. And until then, we'll see you next time.